Driving gives people a sense of control, but sometimes a split-second decision or one small mistake can turn a car into a death trap. In this video, we'll look at 5 of the most disturbing car crash deaths ever recorded. Real stories of people whose final moments were caught in brutal, unforgiving ways. These aren't just tragic accidents. These are the kinds of crashes that leave behind scars that never heal. It was July 21st, 2024 in West Yorkshire, England. Shane Roller, 33, and his partner, Shannon Morgan, 30, had just finished a peaceful walk with their 2 young daughters, 9-year-old Ruby and 4-year-old Lily. The family piled into their silver Ford Focus, heading home along the A61, a stretch of road that should have been just another part of a regular day. But their eldest daughter, 11-year-old Poppy, wasn't with them. She'd chosen to stay behind in Barnsley, spending the afternoon with a family friend, Paul Heppel, and his daughter. But at around 3:45 p.m., the phone rang, and everything changed. Speeding down that same stretch of the A61 was a motorcycle driven by 56-year-old Christopher Barton. His wife, Janine, 48, was riding pillion. Reports later revealed that Christopher was trying to overtake another vehicle when it happened. He collided head-on with the Roller Morgan family's car. The crash was devastating. By the time emergency services reached the scene, it was already too late. All 6 lives, Shane, Shannon, Ruby, Lily, Christopher, and Janine, were gone. The road between Shaw Lane and Warren Lane was sealed off, but the horror of what had happened couldn't be contained. Superintendent Alan Travis called it a tragedy beyond words. Flowers began to appear at the crash site. Candles, teddy bears, tributes flooded social media, messages filled with grief, disbelief, and pain. "My heart just hurts," wrote Poppy's cousin Beth. "My heart is ripped into a million pieces," Shane's brother Callum said. But the most unbearable weight fell on one small girl. Back in Barnsley, Paul Heppel was left with a task no adult should ever face, telling a child that her entire world was gone. Earlier that morning, Shannon had called and asked if Poppy could stay a little longer. "She was having fun with our daughter," Paul later recalled. "We were just finishing dinner when her aunt got the call and ran out the door. Everything flipped upside down after that." In the days that followed, grief turned into action. Paul launched a GoFundMe campaign to support Poppy. The goal was modest, £3,000, just enough to help with essentials. But the world responded with something more powerful than anyone expected. Within days, donations surged past £70,000, then £300,000, then £482,700. Over 22,500 people gave. Paul made it clear every penny would go into a trust fund for her. Her Aunt Faye was listed as the official beneficiary. None of the funds would be touched until they were legally transferred and secured for Poppy's future. But money can't fix everything. The emotional scars, the ones no amount of funding can heal, remain. The crash scene had been so catastrophic that another driver, who wasn't involved in either vehicle, was arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving. He was later released on bail. The investigation continues, but answers are hard to come by. And what about Poppy? She's gone back to school. Paul says she was nervous, unsure like any child would be after such a loss. But she's finding her footing, slowly, carefully. Therapy has helped, so have the support groups. Organizations like Break have stepped in, along with Compass B, grief counselors, and family liaison officers who've made sure she isn't walking through this alone. She still loves football, still finds escape in music, especially Taylor Swift. Those small comforts, those pieces of normalcy, matter more than ever now. In one heartfelt update, Paul wrote, "Your generosity has not only secured Poppy's future, but has brought light during a very dark time. But the road ahead is long. Some days are heavier than others. There are questions that haunt. Why them? Why not me? The kind of questions that can't be answered, only carried." It was May 29th, 2016. The sun was beginning to dip over Maui, casting long shadows along the winding curves of the Hana Highway. In the car were 37-year-old twin sisters, Alexandria and Anastasia Duval. To the outside world, their bond looked unbreakable. But that afternoon, as the SUV moved along the cliffs, witnesses noticed something deeply unsettling. The two were fighting, not just arguing, screaming, hair pulling, yelling. One moment they were stopped in the road, hazard lights flashing. The next, the Explorer suddenly lurched forward and flew off a 200-foot cliff. Only one sister survived, Alexandria. Behind the wheel, Anastasia, the passenger, was pronounced dead at the scene. The silence after the crash didn't last long. A teenager named Joseph Toleafoa had seen everything. He heard the shouting, He saw the physical struggle, and then he watched the SUV shoot forward, accelerating straight over the edge without even trying to stop. Another witness, standing nearby, recalled seeing the passenger, Anastasia, grab Alexandria's hair and yank on the steering wheel just before the vehicle veered off course. When investigators recovered the wreck, they found strands of Alexandria's hair still clenched in Anastasia's hands. Alexandria was airlifted to the hospital. She didn't even know her sister had died until days into her recovery. Initially, authorities arrested her, but without enough evidence, they let her go. For a moment, it seemed like the case might disappear, but it didn't. Months later, a grand jury re-indicted her for second-degree murder. She was arrested in New York and flown back to Hawaii. The trial that followed didn't unfold like most. Alexandria waived her right to a jury. Instead, she placed her fate in the hands of one man, Judge Peter Cahill. As the courtroom filled with testimony, a different picture of the twins began to emerge. They weren't just bonded, they were volatile. Born as Allison and Ann Daddow, the sisters had left a trail of chaos across several states. In 2008, they opened a yoga studio chain in Florida. For a time, they lived lavishly, but behind the peaceful image of incense and stretching mats was a reality filled with dysfunction, bankruptcy, lawsuits, unpaid debts, angry customers, and behind it all, constant conflict. People who knew them spoke of regular alcohol-fueled fights, screaming matches, unpredictable behavior. Anastasia's ex-boyfriend, Keith Weiss, painted one of the most haunting portraits. He described a terrifying drive years earlier when Anastasia, enraged, kicked the steering wheel while Alexandria screamed from the back seat. They were going 85 miles an hour. He warned them then, "You're going to kill someone." When they fled to Hawaii in 2015, hoping for a fresh start, their old habits followed. Police citations, missed court dates, public fights. The final unraveling came during a camping trip. Anastasia was with her boyfriend, Federico Bailey. Alexandria wasn't supposed to be there, but she came anyway, and within hours, the two sisters had driven off together. No one saw Anastasia alive again. After the crash, Bailey testified that Alexandria's behavior unsettled him. She wore Anastasia's clothes. She never cried, never talked about what happened. Instead, she lingered near him, too close. He said it felt like she was trying to be her sister. The prosecutors said it was all deliberate. They pointed to their past. They said this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a murder. But Alexandria's defense pushed back. They painted a different picture. One where Anastasia, furious, unstable, grabbed the wheel, pulled her sister's hair, and caused the crash herself. They said Alexandria didn't want this. She wasn't in control. She was just as much a victim of that chaos. And in February 2018, Judge Cahill agreed. He ruled Alexandria not guilty, not because the story made sense, not because it was easy to believe, but because, in his eyes, the evidence pointed to a physical struggle, not a calculated act of murder. Still, the doubts never went away.
Right, we gotta block the intersection. Anyone inside the vehicle?
It was the early hours of November 2nd, 2021 in Las Vegas. Most of the strip had gone to sleep, except for the neon glow, still flickering, still breathing. Somewhere off Rainbow Boulevard, 23-year-old Tina Tintor was on her way home. She had just dropped off a friend. Her dog, Max, had gone for a walk with her earlier that night, something Tina often did. It was a part of her calm routine, a way to wind down from her day. Tina was driving her Toyota RAV4, just minutes from the house she shared with her family. Speeding down the same boulevard was a black Chevrolet Corvette Stingray. Behind the wheel, Henry Ruggs III. At 22, he was a rising star in the NFL, known for his speed on the field. But on this night, that speed became something else entirely. According to police, Ruggs was flying down the road at 156 miles per hour. His blood alcohol level was more than twice the legal limit. He had been drinking at a golf driving range at the MGM Grand just before, laughing, playing, taking shots. Videos captured it all. And then, just past 3:40 a.m., the impossible happened in a flash. His Corvette slammed into the back of Tina's SUV. It burst into flames. Trapped inside were Tina and Max. Witnesses would later recall hearing screaming. Tina never made it out. She had come so far in her life. Born in Croatia in 1998, her family fled during the Balkan conflict. They escaped bombings, raids, violence, eventually making their way to Serbia, only to face more instability. In 2001, her mother brought Tina and her brother to America as refugees. They landed in Las Vegas, hoping for a second chance. Tina made the most of it. She worked hard. She smiled often. She dreamed of becoming a computer programmer. She had a job with an insurance company working remotely. She was finally about to receive her U.S. citizenship. That dream was days away, but in a matter of seconds, it was gone. Henry Ruggs survived the crash. So did his girlfriend, Kiara, who had been in the passenger seat. When Ruggs appeared in court, he wore a neck brace. He faced felony charges: DUI resulting in death, reckless driving, firearm possession. If convicted, he could serve up to 46 years in prison. He was released on $150,000 bail and confined to his $1.1 million home, fitted with alcohol monitoring devices. His passport was taken. He was no longer allowed to drive. Tina's uncle, Predrag Kamazek, said what no family should have to say. "We escaped all that over there. War and bombing. We come here, and this happens." Her brother, Georgia, struggled to speak of the night. He said she had been doing what she always did, spending time with Max, seeing friends, laughing. The community grieved. They painted a mural near the crash site. Her friends spoke of the future plans they'd made. Tina wanted to visit Serbia again. She had talked about it the night she died. She was excited, hopeful. Her friend Bana described her as steady, loyal. A year after the crash, Tina's family released a quiet, heartbroken statement. "We are beyond devastated. We hope justice will be served." But the legal process dragged on. Ruggs's attorneys argued that emergency crews were too slow, that maybe, just maybe, Tina could have survived. But Clark County officials were blunt. No one could have survived what happened inside that car, not with that fire, not with those flames. It was supposed to be an ordinary evening, January 31st, 2025, in northeast Philadelphia. For 37-year-old Stephen Druitt, his fiancée Dominique Goods-Burke, and his 9-year-old son Ramesses, it had been just that. Simple, familiar. A shopping trip at Roosevelt Mall, a quiet return home. Then, in a single heartbeat, everything fell apart. At 6:10 p.m., not far away, a twin-engine Learjet 55 lifted off from northeast Philadelphia Airport. A medical transport flight. On board were 6 people: 11-year-old Valentina Guzman Murillo, her mother Leth, 2 pilots, a doctor, and a paramedic. Valentina had been in the U.S. for months, receiving treatment for a spinal condition. Now she was going home to Mexico. The plane climbed into the darkening sky, and then something went horribly wrong. In a nearby restaurant, 25-year-old Kasim Wangus was having dinner with friends. They were joking about the Final Destination movies. A deep, unnatural rumble rolled through the air. Then a flash, then fire. People ran to the windows. Some screamed. A jet had fallen from the sky. Medjet Flight 056 slammed into the ground just blocks from the mall. The impact sent fireballs and debris flying across entire neighborhoods. 4 homes were destroyed. Hundreds of buildings rattled. And amidst the chaos, Stephen's car, his family still inside, was struck. The flames consumed it almost instantly. When first responders arrived, they found Stephen's body still buckled in, lost to the fire. Dominique had somehow been pulled from the wreckage, but over 70% of her body was covered in burns. She was rushed to the hospital and placed in a medically induced coma, but after nearly 3 months of fighting, she passed away on April 27th. Little Ramesses survived, but barely. People watched, some recorded, few moved. But Wangus did. Without thinking, he ripped off his denim jacket, ran toward the burning boy, and threw the jacket over him, trying to smother the fire. Ramesses was twisting in pain. His shoes had melted into his skin. Wangus grabbed him, ran to a nearby police cruiser, and screamed for help. Inside the car, the boy kept asking for his father. But Stephen was already gone. Doctors at St. Christopher's Hospital later confirmed the unimaginable. Burns covered 90% of Ramesses' small body. Wangus, still holding his scorched jacket, broke down during his ride home. "He's just a little kid," he kept whispering, as if saying it might make it less horrifying. The next day, videos of the boy's suffering began circulating online. Clips showing a child burning. It took weeks before journalists helped him connect with the family. Ramesses had been moved to a burn unit in Boston. His mother, Jamie, finally spoke to Wangus. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "You will have a seat at my table forever." Even in their grief, the family reached out. Alberta Amamira Brown, Ramesses' grandmother, checked in on Wangus. He had saved her grandson when no one else moved. Wangus later attended Stephen's funeral. Alberta wrapped her arms around him, called him a hero. But the moment haunted him. "It sneaks up on me," he admitted. "Sometimes I see Ramesses on fire again." It was just after midnight, on June night in 2023, when 5 people climbed into a red Toyota Corolla and drove off into the darkness. Juan Negrete Falls Road in Bochier, Victoria stretched ahead of them. Inside the car were 5 friends from the small town of Hamilton: 31-year-old Alicia Montebello, 17-year-old Lucas Garzolai, 15-year-old Joshua Elms, 14-year-old Megan Fox, and another 17-year-old girl whose name has never been released. They had spent the night together, teenagers and a familiar adult, caught in the blur between boredom, restlessness, and recklessness. Somewhere between 4 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., something went terribly wrong. The car veered off the road and slammed into a tree. By the time anyone found them, it was too late. 4 of the 5 were already gone. Emergency crews didn't arrive until hours later, around noon. The crash site had gone unnoticed in the early light. When they finally pulled the mangled Corolla from the woods, they found handwritten notes inside the car. Scribbled in teenage script were words like, "Drive safe and love people. Help people." A cruel irony scrawled in hope before the wreck. Megan Fox, just 14 years old, was among the dead. Her sister, Kayla Dean, posted a tribute online that pierced like a knife. "Rest in peace, my precious angel. Life isn't going to be the same without your goofy personality or that sweetheart." Megan had her whole life ahead of her, full of school dances, sleepovers, and dreams. Now nothing but silence. Lucas Garzolai, 17, had a passion for cars. He was proud of it. He even posted photos of modified vehicles on Facebook, his bio reading, "You only live once, so make it a good life." He had recently marched with pride in his town's Anzac Day Parade, a member of the 314 Army Cadet Unit in Warrnambool. His friend Joshua Elms marched beside him. Joshua was 15. Kind, funny, a little impulsive, and full of energy. He loved motorbikes, drumming, and his younger siblings. He had just landed his first job at Kohl's. That night, before the crash, he attended a Christian youth program, something he rarely missed. But after coming home, he and his parents exchanged tense words. There was an argument. His mother, Leanne, said she told him goodnight and that she loved him. Moments later, she heard the door click open and close. "I'm just going for a walk," he said. She never saw him again. A week earlier, his father, Matthew, had warned him about dangerous choices, about risky driving, the wrong people. Joshua had confessed to doing car stunts, brushing it off with, "I'm not that stupid, Dad." But among those people his parents were worried about was Alicia Montebello. Her record wasn't a mystery. In 2015, she was caught driving an unregistered vehicle under the influence. Her license was suspended. In 2016, she was caught again, this time while disqualified. She received a suspended jail sentence, and yet, years later, she was still driving, and still a danger. Police haven't confirmed who was behind the wheel that night, but they believe the car was flying down the dark road at more than 100 kilometers per h. A video surfaced on Snapchat, capturing a voice asking, "What speed are we doing?" A woman replies, 11, minus 130. Another voice, "Sweet." Moments later, the car hit the tree. Victoria Police Assistant Commissioner Glenn Weir described the crash as incomprehensible, the speed horrifying. He added that some of the teens likely weren't wearing seatbelts. The one survivor, the unnamed 17-year-old girl, was barely clinging to life and rushed to Alfred Hospital in Melbourne. In the days that followed, grief swept through Hamilton, a close-knit town of just 10,000 people. Flowers and handwritten notes were left outside Bainbridge College. A moment of silence was held at St. Mary's Catholic Church. Joshua's mother, Leanne, returned to the media not just to mourn, but to warn. Her voice cracked as she said, "Think of your loved ones when you leave the front door." She wasn't just speaking for her son. She was speaking for every parent who never got that last good night back.